been working on decomposing fractions, correct? More specifically, we have been working on this. You guys have been able to, I will decompose fractions in more than one way into a sum of fractions with like denominators. Okay, I'm going to read that for you again, okay, because that's a lot of words. I will decompose fractions in more than one way into a sum of fractions with like denominators. So what I want you to do right now, if you could turn and talk about what you think this first part means. Okay, what do those vocabulary words mean? Go ahead. Alright, come back to me. Who would like to tell me what you talked about you thought this meant? Antonio, what did you think this meant?
Decomposing fractions in more than one way of like the brown stick or blue stick.
Okay, so he's talking about different Cuisinart rods. So what is decompose? You used the word decompose. What does that mean? Arthur? To take apart. What are we taking apart?
A fraction?
A fraction? So are we taking apart 1/2?
Like no. Like you're taking apart the fraction to equal a whole.
Oh, okay. Did y'all hear what he said? Can you repeat it?
You're taking apart one fraction that could be made into one whole with different colored Cuisinart rods.
So he said we're taking fractions and putting them together to make a whole. So is that decomposing? Putting them back together? So decomposing is putting fractions back together to make a whole.
Decomposing is to take apart.
To take apart. So what have we been starting with? What do we start with? Before we decompose, I usually say, can you get... Do we start with a fraction?
No, we start with a whole.
We start with a whole and then we take it apart, okay? In more than one way. Now, y'all have used Cuisinart rods to do this, and then we started out using what? The tiles, okay? Now, this part says into a sum of fractions. What does that mean? What did y'all talk about? Sum of fractions. Connor, what's a sum of fractions?
I think it's like when you get all your fraction tiles, like 1/4 of this or something. Like I think it's when you add it all up and then you get your whole.
Okay, did y'all hear what he said? Who can say that? You can repeat what he just said in your words. Alex?
It's when you take the fractions and you add them all up and it gives you one whole. So like the numerator and the denominator are the same thing.
Okay, so when we're adding those fractions back up to get a whole. With like denominators. What does it mean if we say like denominators? Because that's kind of new. What do you think that means?
Two denominators that are the exact same.
Two denominators that are the same number, okay? So let's talk about what this looks like when we use hands on our Cuisinart rod. So can you pull out one orange rod? You and your partner. All right. Now I know that y'all have practiced a little bit earlier in the week, and you can find a lot of different ways to decompose one rod. But right now, I just want you to find one way with your partner. Just one. Please do that. Just one way. Just one. Okay, good. It looks like everyone has found at least one way. So now let's talk about what this looks like, okay? What was our whole? What did I tell you to pull out? We were going to start with our whole. Cassidy? One orange rod. equaled 1 whole. Correct?
Correct.
Okay. Now, can you tell me, what did you come up with? How did you decompose that 1 orange rod?
Well, we found out that it equaled 10. So, me and Ray began to count by 2.
Okay.
Using the little red. Yeah, little red.
So how many of the red rods did it take you?
5.
Okay, so let's look at that. Let's see what that looks like. Uh-oh. Now my drawings don't look even, but they are all the same size. Okay, so how many rods do we have there?
It looked 5.
How many?
5.
5. So how would we write a fraction for this one? Antonio?
1/10 plus 1. No, I mean 2/10 plus 2/10 plus 2/10 plus 2/10 plus 2/10.
Okay, now Antonio says this is 2/10, but how many total parts do we have here?
5.
So what part of it is this fraction? What part? This is 1/5. What is this one?
1/5.
All of them are 1/5.
All of them are 1/5. Now, let's go back up here. We said we were going to decompose into a sum of fractions. We decomposed, correct?
Yes.
How do we make this a sum of fractions? What are we missing, Maya? We have to add them together, so what should I put? What have we done? Plus signs. What does that equal? Justin? It does equal 1 whole. How can we check that? How do we know for sure that that's 1 whole? Who have I not called on? How do we know, Olivia?
Because if you count it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5.
And what do we know about when the numerator is the same as the denominator?
It equals 1 whole.
It equals 1 whole. Okay, now let's look right here. I will record my results as an equation and on a number line. So what's an equation? Have we done that yet?
Yes.
Okay, which part up here is the equation? Kylie? Good. So here's our equation. But what are we missing? What have we not done?
Number line.
The number line.
Because it tells you like how many spaces you skip, or like 1. Like if that were to be like a 1 and that were to be a 5, like you put a line like right there. Right there.
I like where you were going. He said the number line's going to tell us, he said how many spaces we have to go. Can somebody reword that? Instead of saying how many spaces, what exactly are we going to represent on this number line, Jesse? How many jumps, or how would we say it in mathematical terms?
Leaps.
They are what of a whole? Parts of a whole. So how many parts of the whole do we have here?
5.
So how many jumps do I need here?
5.
Okay, let's do that.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
So can I just put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5?
No. It would be 1/5.
Oh, why can't I put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Michael?
Because the number is not equal to the same amount that you wrote. Yeah, because that was right there. If you wrote like 4 or 1 or something, you would get a wrong answer. They'd be confused.
Right. So if I put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I'm going to end up with
5.
5. But really, I only have
1.
1. So each jump is worth
1/5.
good.
They're all 1/5.
Okay. Here's what you're going to do now. You're going to go decompose fractions in more than one way, okay? And you're going to do that with a sum of fractions with like denominators. And then you are going to write your equation and record it on a number line, okay? You're going to do this on index cards. You don't have to put your name on it, because then we're going to look at all of these together, okay? Here's what you need, though. You need 1 black rod and 1 yellow rod, okay? So, hold on just a second. Let's go over it again. what are you going to have to do first? What's the first thing you're going to do when you pull out your black and yellow rod?
Wait for instructions.
Wait for instructions.
Hold on. You're going to
Decompose fractions.
You're going to decompose with, and you're going to start with one black rod and one yellow as the whole, okay? What do you have to do next? What am I asking for? I said you had to decompose, but then the next part says into a sum of fractions. So what do we have to do?
Add the sum.
We add them up, but before we can add, we have to have what?
What
What is
That
this called?
Add them up. Fraction.
Equation.
An equation. Good, good, good. Right? An equation. And then, what do you have to do? You're going to record it on a number line. Okay. Okay. You're going to do one way that you decomposed it on the front, one way that you decomposed it on the back.
Wait.
Okay? So you're going to draw your black and yellow rod, and then how you decomposed it, whatever color rod you used, just one. Then you're going to flip it over on the back, and you're going to do one more. But you're going to have your equation and record it on a number line. Anyone have a question? Okay, yes.
Okay, so write the fraction, add it up, and then number line.
Yep. Okay. Let's go back to your seats. Take a box with you, and let's get started, and I'll come around.
Wait.